Hello everybody and welcome to the Thursday edition of Video Clips. And we have a couple of workshops coming up I know you want to know about. First of all, tonight, May 23rd, Wellness 101 Intro to Plant-Based Health. That's our science and skills, like 90-minute boot camp, gets you started on the path to better health. And on Thursday, May 30th, Catherine Cook, one of our in-house scientists here, is going to do a review of that book, Eat Right for Your Type, and tell you what she thinks is wrong with it, let you ask questions. If you get asked about the blood type diet, you want to be on that call. All right, so talking again about catastrophic care. I don't know how many in the series, I guess until we're finished talking about it, but so many things in here that I think people need to know about. I want to talk about emergency room treatment. One of the things that we're told all the time is emergency room treatment is very expensive, and part of the reason healthcare costs are so high is because uninsured people show up in the ER and that's where they get treated. Well, here's the real deal. It's just not true. That's the real deal. The costs are fixed, the salaries are fixed, the waits are interminable, the amenities are lacking, the service is terrible. I mean, this is arguably the cheapest care on the planet. And just to show you that this is the case, one hospital in New Jersey has a billboard announcing the current wait time in their emergency room. Well, obviously this is to attract non-critical patients, because people who are critical don't care what the wait time is in the emergency room, and they just go to the closest hospital for emergency care. So exactly, we were talking in the Tuesday video clips about the Affordable Care Act. If it doesn't solve any of these issues, it doesn't bring down costs, and it doesn't really expand care, what does it do? Well, it's more likely that the poor are unhealthier because they have unhealthier lifestyles than because they lack insurance. And the Affordable Care Act can't solve this problem. The only thing it did was it took all these poor people who are showing up in the emergency room, getting cheap care, by the way, it's not expensive, and turned them into another 32 million Americans who are totally unconscious about price, like most of the rest of us. So what about the claim that even with the increased expenditures, isn't it worth it to provide care to everyone? Well, Goldhill states that he's a liberal, and he would have answered yes to this question years ago, but he now realizes that insurance doesn't guarantee anything. Your risks of being injured or overtreated are not changed by insurance. In fact, they're increased by insurance. And he argues that we could take the $200 billion a year in an extra expense to administer this program and use it a whole lot more wisely. For example, you could purchase a gym membership for 42 million Americans and pay them $10 an hour to work out 3 times a week, and you could provide fresh vegetables every day to every kid in America with that $200 billion. And that probably would go a whole lot longer way in fixing the problems that we have. Well, the Affordable Care Act has been falling apart for a long time, and one section of it has already fallen victim to the inevitability that the law just doesn't work. The Community Living Assistance Services and Support Act was part of the bill, which is a new form of insurance for long-term care. The government was charged with operating this fund and creating a pool, and it just abandoned it in 2011 because there was no way to fund it. It was the administration's first acknowledgement that costs couldn't just be handled through financial engineering, and that the program couldn't be sustained without unlimited government subsidy, and we just can't afford it. And that's quite an acknowledgement from our current administration. Goldhill proposes a new way of funding healthcare based on the success of other programs like the hybrid system in Singapore that combines personal contribution with indemnification against unexpected healthcare expenses like a catastrophic heart attack or something of that nature. In Singapore, consumers are price conscious, and one of the reasons is that they actually create their own fund, and I'll talk about this a little bit later in the series here. And so in the Singapore system, and Goldhill suggests this is the way it should be, people pay for day-to-day expenses out of their health fund, and catastrophic care is covered by insurance. And then we'd really be talking about insurance based on the way insurance was designed. So you have a combination of individual contribution and government reinsurance. The account, he proposes, like in Singapore, that the account you create remains your own. It can be a savings account, and you can leave it in an estate to your heirs. And consumers would then be more price conscious, and reductions in health spending would translate into reduced contributions over time, and also to money being allocated to something outside of healthcare. I mean, if we get rid of part of this $2.7 trillion albatross, we would find more money going into other things that people might like to buy that would fuel other industries in our country. Healthcare for Americans would eventually reach a smaller percentage of gross domestic product than it is now, and like it is in other countries. I mean, we have one of the highest percentages of gross domestic product allocated to healthcare on the planet. And in this scenario, health becomes a financial asset for individuals rather than a societal liability. Well, what keeps us from changing the system, even though there are clearly some institutions and countries performing better and already engaged in innovation? Well, the overall environment doesn't stimulate innovation like other industries do. On the island, remember Goldhill calls it the healthcare island, even when you perform poorly, you get paid, whereas on the mainland where you and I work, if we do a bad job, people don't pay their bill. And there's no profit incentive to drive innovation since hospitals rarely can find ways to wring more profits from the system. Some admit that what they're doing to improve record keeping of care decreases profitability, but they're doing it anyway. And we have to be thankful that there are some people that are willing to take a hit on some of these things just to try to do better. So anyway, you might wonder, after all this disaster that we talk about when we review books like this, is there any hope? I really think there is, and I think part of the hope is just getting this message out. That's why I'm spending some time on this book, because I've found in talking with people, there are so many people who have so many misunderstandings about healthcare and what drives costs. And I just was speaking to somebody the other day who said it's the darned insurance companies, they're too interested in profit. Well, I don't think that's the problem. And as I've outlined in my last several video clips broadcasts, I don't think that Goldhill and others think it's the problem either. If all the insurance companies went out of business tomorrow and we started over with a new crop, based on the existing system, things would be just as messed up. So anyway, I'll stop here, and in the next couple weeks we'll finish this up. Pass it on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it. Have a great day and a great weekend.